Horses eating. Baby horses. Well, this is as good a place as any to do this. What's up, YouTube? Three Bones here. And as some of you have requested, a formal review of my baby, Ms. Hyde, the 2011 Harley Davidson Night Rod Special, VRSCDX. Now, you guys have seen a lot of this bike since, if you follow the channel, and you know there are some modifications to this beauty that are not stock. I haven't gone crazy, mind you, but there are some things that are not stock. For example, mufflers. So it's stock from the headers to the mufflers. The mufflers are aftermarket. The headlight is from an A model V-Rod. That is aftermarket, even though it's Harley Davidson, you know, who makes it. The mirrors, or the stock mirrors, are just turned inverted and swapped because I couldn't see it past my shoulder. The rear section used to have the rear tail lights, the rear turn signals and license plate kit. That's been removed for an LED kit. Obviously, I've got the side mount license plate. This bike came with forward controls. I put the mid controls on. It came with a crappier seat. This is a better seat. It's a Harley Sundowner. Looking to replace that for something even more comfortable. Because now that I'm mid-controlled, most of my weight is here. There's hardly any padding here, and this part puts my tailbone to sleep. If you're a heavier rider like me, it's not the most comfortable bike. So now those are the aftermarket things. The stock things, the things that you really want to know about on this bike. It's a 1250cc liquid-cooled dual overhead cam Harley Davidson Revolution motor with a red line up to 9,000 RPMs, producing, from the factory numbers, producing 125 horsepower, and I believe it is 72 foot-pounds of torque at 8,520-something RPMs. It has two Brembo dual piston caliper brakes up front, and one Brembo dual piston caliper in the back. It has ABS. This model has ABS, which works pretty well. It just kicks in a little early, but they do that to make it safer, so you're nowhere near the slide zone. But most professional riders who've ridden it feel it kicks in a little early. The clutch is a beautifully smooth hydraulic clutch. So you get the same action, same pressure, no adjustment needed ever out of this clutch. It's fitted with a slipper clutch. For those of you who don't know what a slipper clutch is, I'm sure most of you who are familiar with sport bikes know what a slipper clutch is. What it is a clutch that has variable plates that are allowed to slip when you do a hard downshift, not to have that immediate torque power in the rear wheel, which could cause jacking and wheel hop, will make you lose traction. The slipper clutch is designed to slip and gradually increase the plates together. At least that's my understanding of it. Any of you professional mechanics may be able to tell me otherwise. The suspension on this puppy is not great. Not great at all. The standard Harley-Davidson suspension is, I'm 360 pounds right now. This is the heaviest I've ever been in my life. When I was lighter, even when I was 300 pounds, the stock suspension would bottom out at the stiffest setting. This suspension I have here is the Progressive 444 HD heavy duty suspension. The heavy duty suspension raises the back here a half an inch higher than the stock seat The stock elevation is 11.5 inches. This is a 12. I also have the heavy-duty suspension springs in the front of the bike, which was really fun to, which was really fun to change, let me tell you, but it wasn't too bad. The new suspension setup, significantly better. I have the rear shocks only turned twice from their stock position. Goddamn, all the horses are gone. Where the hell did they go? Anyway, I have the suspension, only turned in twice, and it can turn quite a bit more for stiffer suspension. I find it's stiff enough, the balance between comfort and stiffness. The front dive has been improved greatly by changing over to the heavy-duty compression springs. But like I said, I'm a heavy guy. You know, I'm 5'11", 360 pounds. Yeah, it's a little heavy for a guy for this type of bike. But this setup more than compensates for it. The mid-controls, as most of you may know who have mid-controls on their bikes, make controlling the motorcycle much easier. It took a lot of pressure off my back, which has been good, but it also has encouraged me to lean over the bike a lot more. One of the downsides with this bike, the lean angle is only 32 degrees. That's it. And then you scrape one of these puppies. Now this side's not too bad because I don't make too many hard right-hand turns. However, the left-hand side is burnt out quite a bit more, but when they wear down more, I'll get new stuff. These are stock pegs. Stock pegs, stock controls. I just moved them back and I bought a new set of pegs for up front so I can stretch out a little bit. Because, I mean, the other problem is, while having mid controls is great for your control of your motorcycle, the low seat height, 25.5 inches high off the ground, that's a problem. That's a big problem for big people like me, where you got guts and it crushes up. For anyone any taller people, or anyone in general, you're basically sitting like this, with your knees bent real tight. And that's just the way it is. It's a low seat height. This bike, the V-Rod, is designed to be a dragster. It's designed to be a big, fat 240 tire in the rear. I think it's a 180 in the front. And that big-ass, meaty chunk is designed to get your grip and launch you quick. But because of that, your nimbleness is affected. Now, for me, it's not too big of a deal because I'm a heavy guy and I can flick the bike around a little bit more than someone who was maybe half my weight. You got to remember, the bike is almost 700 pounds fully loaded, you know, full of water. Water, yeah, if only. Filled with fuel. The gas tank, as you can see, is not here. This is an airbox. The gas tank is there. And there's your fuel, 5 gallons. If I stretch it out, I could probably get about 150 miles out of this thing. I tend to fill up every 120. Or basically whenever it's convenient. Like when I'm out here in the middle of nowhere, I tend to find gas stations, I tend to make use of gas stations as they come, rather than waiting and hoping that there's one when I need one. So, overall, the V-Rod is a low-slung, dragster-type bike. Like traditional Harleys, they'll put out like 110 foot-pounds of torque at 5,000 RPM, which is their red line. This thing red lines at about 9,100. I think it's governed to about 9,000 when it kicks in. It only makes 72 foot-pounds, but it has 125 horsepower because of the gearing. It's only got a 5-speed transmission. So my complaints about wishing I had a 6 gear when I'm cruising at 80 miles an hour, I'm going 5,000 RPM. I wish I could be at 4,000 RPM or lower. But that is the way it is. It's not that big of a deal. It can handle it. I mean, your power band doesn't start till 5,000. But cruising anything faster than 70 miles an hour starts really affecting your gas mileage. So, highway cruising at high speeds, gas mileage is not great. Still, about 25 miles to the gallon. But when you're cruising around slower, you're getting 33, 35 miles to the gallon. So, that's where it's at. Some of the other modifications, like the Screaming Eagle race tuner I put in there, basically a K&N air filter type of unit, but it's actually a Screaming Eagle version in the air kit. Tuned it up myself and all that other good stuff. This thing brakes like a bat out of hell. It takes off pretty good too. But it's really good at stopping. It's probably the best stopping Harley has ever made. Definitely the best stopping bike I've ever had. I also put a high output light up here so that I can see through my visor at night and I won't have to change it. I just have a, mirrored visor, as you can tell. And if it was smoke, it would be too dark probably. But with the high output light, I can see right through it just fine. I don't feel like I need to change it. So, this bike, last time I had it dyno tuned, which was a while ago, back when I first got it. Harley claims 125 horsepower to crank, which will be up there. By the time it gets to the rear wheel, you always lose some power. This thing dynoed at 118 with slip-on muffler, Screaming Air Kit, stage 1 stuff. It might be a little higher, it might be a little lower. I've changed it quite a bit, the fueling myself. But like I said, I'm not a professional, so I know there are definitely some flat spots because I get some popping and things like that. Things that I know I need to fix, but it runs well enough that I'm not that worried about it. I don't have to worry about it blowing up. Like I said, the flickability with this big fat tire, it's tough. It's kind of a slow, lumbering leaner. Some people have said it turns pretty good for a Harley. I think it does. Others say it's a dog because of the fat tire. Well, yeah. Point to point, side to side, is going to take longer on a 240 tire than it is on a 180. Or a 150, or 160, or whatever. Actually, what is the front? I'm not sure. Oh, sorry. The front's a 120, not a 180 or 160. It's a 120. So, one of the complaints some of the professional reviewers had is that because the skinny front tire hinders some of the braking. I don't feel like that's so much of a problem. Maybe if you were really, really push it in canyon curves, it would become a problem. My country roads, it does fine. My biggest problem is scraping pegs on tight corners, because now that I have mid controls, you can kind of hang off it a little bit. You can see I ride almost to the very limit of this tire on both sides, but that's not too hard to do. And having that big of a tire really leaves some meat for the ground. It's nice. It's a fun bike, However, what you have to remember is a bike like this is designed with something in mind. This is designed for drag racing. It's got a big meaty tire in the front, a pushed out, I forget the angle the head's at, the steering head. It's got a pushed out front end and a skinnier front tire. It's set up like a dragster. So, this bike, or any V-Rod for that matter, the Night Rod is a blacked out version of the standard V-Rod with a lower seat height and closer more of drag bars. This is designed more for this rather than that. You got to remember that. This, not that. Because, like I said, you're not going to get to put your knee down on this thing. It's just not happening. You'd have to hang way off and be bending, pegs way up. It's not designed for it. It's designed to get you a nice meaty grip on the ground so you can go straight ahead really fast. It is nimble if you know how to ride it, just like any bike. You can flick this around, but you're not going to get the same kind of response that you will a sport bike. It's just not the same type of thing. You're this low to the ground. You have a big ass tire, a long rake. You are not going to have flickability. It's just not happening. So you got to get it out of your mind. And I got to get it out of my mind. Because I'm guilty of wanting to push it more than it is. But, there's an old saying that Oh God, I'm going to screw this up because I always screw up old sayings, but I know what, if you can get the gist, you know, you'll like it. It's more fun to ride a slow bike fast than a fast bike slow. So you get a bike that's like a track god, like a ZX10, Honda 1000RR. You know, riding it on the street is like taking a top fuel dragster and putting down the street. You'll never hit its full potential until you hit a track. So I'm not saying it's not a fun bike to ride. It is, even when because you could push it in all kinds of ways, and it will go Mach 1 million. But you're riding a super fast bike in its slower category, not as fun, because you know you're not pushing it. Whereas you take a 600, you know, or in my case a V-Rod, and you push it to its limit on the street, because it's not really designed for the track other than a drag strip, you could have more fun with it. So I have a lot of fun with this, pushing it to its limit and pushing myself to my limit with this bike, because it's a cruiser. And throwing it around, it just is fun. It handles it well. It just doesn't handle it as well as other bikes. You have to remember, as a dragster, going straight is what it's meant to do. So this puppy on the highway is very stable. You would think that it wouldn't be as stable as, say, a sport bike with fairings that make it more aerodynamic. And you're right, aerodynamically, it's a naked. You know, your wind is all up on you. However, because of the wide tire and long, low stance and pushed out front tire, it tracks very nice going straight. And it's very easy to control. So, it's fun in that regard. The other thing is, it's got a radiator. It used to be the only Harley with a radiator until now the Street 750 and the Street 500 now have radiators. But their technology is built from this. They have, oh God, what do they call them now? Revolution X motors is what the Street 500 and Street 750 have. They're little baby V-Rod motors. They got, I mean, look at it. Harley's got now 2 lines with radiators, and they're working on introducing their radiators with some of their more traditional bikes. So, for you traditionalists, what do you think of the V-Rod? Well, it's going to look funny. It's going to sound funny. This thing gets compliments everywhere, especially this paint scheme. It's badass. It looks like a low chopper, even though it's not. It's got a big fat tire. It's got a skinny front tire. It's got sculpted lines. It's got clean paint. But if you're a purist, you're not going to like the way it sounds when it starts. Because when it starts, it sounds like a technology-driven bike rather than the old potato. For example, it doesn't sound bad, but it'll rev straight through the roof. You'll never get that 1500 RPM thump, 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 thump as you're cruising. It just doesn't happen. This bike will literally shit all over you. Shit out on you if you try and ride it below 3,000 RPMs. It has no balls. It does not like it. This bike likes to rev, and revving is its friend. So, where a typical Harley, you would have to shift very quickly. Well, you do have to shift them first in this very quickly too, but to me it's quickly. It may be a lot forever compared to a traditional bike. See what I mean? Sorry, I just deafened you guys with wind noise. I'm only in second gear. I'm doing 60. So in second gear, I can get up to... I'm only at 80. I'm running out of road. See, it behaves like a sport bike. The engine behaves like a sport bike. But it cruises like a Harley. it's great fun. It's like a hybrid. It's good at taking off. It's good at drag racing. It is not good at turning per se when you compare it to leader class bikes or 600 series sport bikes. For a Harley, it does both fairly well. I would say it corners at least as well as other bikes and better than like your typical Harley. Maybe not the ZX 1200, but or ZR 1200 or 1200 XR, whatever that Sportster thing is. Not as good as that, but better than like an Electra Glide, or probably better than a Softail. But then again, it's been forever since I rode a Softail. I could be wrong. It does so. For a Harley, it corners fairly well. For a motorcycle, it does not corner fairly well, but it does take off very well. The problem is, as a dual, a one bike fits all type of let me go this way. For one bike fits all type of proposition, this bike is middle of the road, I'd say. I say it does a lot of things well enough, but nothing perfect. You know, it's not a perfect drag bike, because it does not, when you're dragging, you want high horsepower. Actually, I should say you want high torque at low RPMs to get as much, you know, power right to the ground as soon as possible. But at the other end of the spectrum, since it's mediumly geared, you can also get winded out quite a bit. But as far as agility goes, you're limited by your ground clearance and your tire, you know. So as a cruiser, as an everyday bike, it's a great bike, because you got a taste of sport bike, a taste of ground pounding Harley. You know, you've got, typically as a V-twin, you've got pretty good. It's like having like a Super Duke, I guess. Although the Super Duke would probably crush the shit out of this because it weighs like a quarter of the weight or something. But in the way that the twin-cylinder Super Duke is a really big monster, makes a lot of power, and also can rev. You kind of get not the wind out, super high end speed of like a inline 4 leader bike, but you do get a lot of the ground pounding power of a Harley, so you get that twist of the wrist. You know, this is actually a pit example. Let me lower the, you know, you get that horsepower that just takes you off, and it just makes you really enjoy it after a while. And then you can stop pretty fast. You know, you can stop fairly good too. So I'm rambling here, I know it, because I love this bike. It's been my dream bike forever. You know, it retailed for about $15,000. It's pretty cheap to insure. I think it cost me like $450 for the year. And that's like full coverage, very low deductibles, like 20 bucks. And you know, it's just it's an all-around pretty good buy. And you know, I'm obviously it's my bike, so of course I'm going to be, you know, biased. But I think most people who tried it would enjoy it. Oh, one other downside: when you're going slow, because of the rake and the neck angle is very sloppy at slow speeds. It needs speed for stability. Once it gets going, it's rock stable, but at slow speeds, it kind of like wants to flop around. And while you're turning, the big tire resists you at first, and then once you hit that like point of no return, it just falls into the turn. So you got to be ready for it. You got to fight it, and then it just goes. You know. So I don't know. That's my review of this bike. Like I said, it's a fun machine. It's been bringing smiles to my face since 2002. Well, you know, this model has been bringing smiles to my face since 2002. This bike has been bringing me smiling since 2012. It is my second V-Rod. I owned an '09 A model, sold it, tried to go back to school, went back to school, came back, bought a, Night Rod Special, which was what I wanted in the first place, because this is just, let's face it, a sexy beast. Alrighty, guys, I think that'll do it. If I forgot anything you want to know, please leave it in the comments below. Basically, all you really got to know about this bike is that I adore it. Absolutely adore this bike. And if I could make it a little bit more comfortable for the longer ride, it'd be perfect. Well, that and 6th gear and lean angle, but you get the idea. Anyway, this has been a long video, I'm sure. I hope you guys enjoy whatever day it is that this comes out. I will catch you guys later. 3 Bones, signing off.